All right, welcome. We're going to wrap up your training on good manufacturing practice for investigational medicinal products with this essential summary of Annex 13. Let's really lock in the key takeaways you'll need to apply in your daily work. So let's start with the absolute core of what we're talking about, the investigational medicinal product, or IMP. As you can see, this is the active substance or even the placebo that is truly at the heart of every single clinical trial. And that brings us to the big question, right? Why do these products need their own unique set of rules? Why can't we just follow the standard practices? Well, it's because IMPs are a whole different ballgame compared to medicines already out on the market. This slide really lays out the challenges so clearly. With IMPs, you're often dealing with a lot of unknowns. Incomplete process validation isn't just a technical phrase. It means there could be inconsistencies from one batch to the next. And that complex labeling for blinded studies? A simple mistake there could completely wreck the trial's data, or even worse, put a patient at risk. It's this inherent complexity and risk that sets IMPs apart. Okay, so how do we manage all of that risk? Well, that's where Annex 13 comes in. It establishes a crystal clear chain of responsibility. Let's walk through who the key players are and what exactly they're responsible for to keep things safe and sound from beginning to end. Everything starts at the top of that chain, with the sponsor. This is the person or organization that has the ultimate overall responsibility for getting the trial off the ground and seeing it through. Think of the sponsor as the architect of the whole operation. They create the master plan, they provide all the written procedures for how to handle and store the IMPs, they sort out all the transport logistics, and, this is key, at the very end, they have the final say on what happens to any leftover product.
Next up in the chain is the manufacturer. Pretty straightforward, this is who physically makes the product, and they have to follow the strict principles of good manufacturing practice to a T.
Their job is huge. They're not just making the stuff, they're implementing quality systems, packaging and labeling it correctly, and making absolutely sure that the packaging can protect the product all the way to your site. Plus, they're responsible for all the detailed paperwork and keeping samples for quality control down the line. And now for a role that is absolutely critical. Let's talk about the final gatekeeper of quality before an IMP can ever be used, the qualified person, or QP. The QP's role is non-negotiable. They are the ones who verify that all the quality systems are working as they should. And most importantly, they give the final green light, the official approval for the release of every single batch. Without a QP's signature, nothing ships, nothing gets used, period. And this brings us to you and your team. We are now at what is arguably the single most critical point of control at the entire clinical trial site. That moment, the IMP shipment finally arrives. I want you to focus on that one word, immediately. The second that shipment lands on your doorstep, the clock starts ticking. There is zero room for delay here. Patient safety and the integrity of your data are literally on the line. So here is your checklist. This is the exact step-by-step process you have to follow every single time. You start with the outside of the box, looking for any damage. Then you check the paperwork, making sure that QP signed certificate is there. Then it's all about the label. Is it for your site, the right trial, the right patient? Check the expiry date. And finally, verify that temperature data. Following these steps methodically isn't just a suggestion, it's essential. And yes, we're saying it again because it is that important. Checking the labeling is the last line of defense between a potential mistake and a patient. It is the absolute bedrock of safety and data integrity for your trial. So let's play this out. What if one of those checks fails? You see a crushed box, the paperwork is missing, the label is wrong, or the temperature went out of range? What is your immediate professional responsibility in that moment? The answer is one word, and it is absolute: quarantine. No hesitation, no exceptions. That product has to be immediately isolated from all of your good, usable stock. And here's exactly what you do. You physically label it quarantine. You move it to a separate, secure, controlled area while still maintaining its storage conditions, of course. Then you pick up the phone, contact the sponsor, and you wait for their instructions. This is how you protect your patients and the trial. Now, once an IMP is successfully received and accepted, your job isn't over. Your responsibilities continue through its entire life at your site, all the way from storage to the final reconciliation. When the study is over, every single vial, every tablet, Every last unit has to be accounted for. You will get precise, written instructions from the sponsor on whether you're returning the product or destroying it. And listen, you never, ever destroy anything without explicit, written approval from the sponsor and only after a full reconciliation of every single dose. Okay, as we bring this to a close, let's just summarize the fundamental principles of Annex 13. Think of these as the core ideas that need to guide every single thing you do when you handle these products. These principles are the why behind all the rules. They're the 4 pillars. We do all this to minimize risk, to ensure quality so our data is good, to maintain consistency from batch to batch, and to make sure that every single person involved knows exactly what they're doing. It's all about protecting our trial subjects and the validity of the research.
And with that, congratulations! You have now officially completed this essential training on Annex 13.
So I'm going to leave you with one final crucial question to think about. Now that you understand the process, you know the principles, take a hard look at your own site's procedures. Where is your biggest risk? And what are you going to do to mitigate it? Thank you for your commitment to this incredibly important work.